Most honorable students, Chapter 2, video explanation of questions. Without further ado, let's get it on. Number 1, Chapter 2. The study of how society chooses to employ resources to produce goods and services and to distribute them for consumption among various competing groups and individuals is known as microeconomics. False. Microeconomics is to the individual. What are individuals doing? The big picture, macro, the society. That's the key word. Number 2, the economists study how people/individual use resources to produce and distribute goods and services for consumption among competing groups and individuals is macroeconomics. False. It's micro. Keyword here, people and individuals. Make the distinction, okay? Macro, big, society. Micro, small, the individual. 3, macroeconomics is the perspective that looks at the operations of a nation's economy as a whole. True, the nation. 4, microeconomics focuses on the decisions and behavior of individual persons and organizations in particular markets. True. Economist Adam Smith's important contribution was an inquiry as to why some nations are wealthy while others remains poor. Yes, and all the factors there. Private property, keeping profits, competition, freedom of choice, invisible hand, self-interest. We covered those topics. Those should be in your mind. Continue on. 7, the invisible hand in Adam Smith's theory turns self-directed and self-interest motivation into social and economic benefits for all. Goods, services, well, true. By me operating a business, other people will get a benefit. 8, according to Adam Smith, the invisible hand refers to the government's efforts to always keep a check on the wealth creation of individuals so that no business would control the market or a particular good or service. False. It's not involved with the government, person, individual interest. 9, in capitalist countries, the government decides what to produce and how the goods and services will be produced. False. That's communism that the government decides. Capitalist, competition. 11, the consumer demand curve refers to the quantity of goods and services, a service that consumers are willing and able to pay at different prices at different quantities. Yes, that's where the curve goes down. That's the down portion of the curve. So, what do we have with that being said? Here's the basic image, right? This one curving downward, price, supply. As prices go down, people will buy more. Let us continue the journey. So, rephrasing. Number 10, under the basic principle of supply, as price goes down, manufacturers and suppliers of products and supply manufacture less of the product. False, right? It's the other way around. As prices go up for supply, they'll produce more. Quantity will increase. Okay, so that's key. That is key. Make the distinction which way prices are moving. So then that takes us to 11. The consumer demand curves refer to the quantity of goods and prices that consumers are willing to pay able to buy and pay at different prices at different quantities. And so that's where we see this graph image again. And so if you look here across the top, we see all the various ways you can represent it. And so the basic idea is going down, price goes down, people buy more. Price goes up, manufacturers produce more. All right, let's continue the journey. 12, at the equilibrium point, the quantity consumers buy equals the quantity sellers desire to sell. Once again, back to our diagram. There's the equilibrium point right there. See it right there? That's the place where supplier's happy, buyer's happy, the market moves forward. Let's continue on. 13, countries that rely on a free market system are plagued by persistent shortages or surpluses of goods and services because the invisible hand does not work. False. The invisible hand works. Self-interest for the consumer. And so there's never a shortage in the free market system and the capitalist system in particular. There may be disruptions because of weather, droughts, and so on, but products are always available. Think about that in your real life. When has there really been a shortage of something that you wanted? You might have to wait a day or two or a week, but you will get it. Let us continue on. 14. In socialist economies, the government owns some, if not most, basic businesses such as telecommunication systems and utilities. This is true. That's the socialist system. The government owns businesses, unlike capitalism, where the government does not technically own businesses. Let's continue on. 15. For economic measurements, inflation, stagflation, disinflation, and deflation are descriptions of the increases and decreases in quantity. False. It's prices. It's prices. 16. Monopolistic markets is where there is one seller and one product. False. That's a monopoly. Here we're talking about monopolistic markets, meaning many sellers, same product. So vegetable stores, grocery stores, lots of them around, everybody selling the same thing. 17. Branding / logo is unnecessary in a monopolistic market. False. That is necessary. How can you make your apple different? Well, it's a XYZ specialty. It's a Nike apple. How about that for an idea? It's not just a sweater. It's a Nike sweater. 18. Monetary policy is related to control of the money supply. True. Monetary policy is how the government controls the amount of money. Fiscal policy. 19. Fiscal policy is related to taxes and spending of the government. True. Gross domestic product measures the ability to create large businesses. False. We didn't cover that question in class. Gross domestic product. We'll cover that on Tuesday. It's a piece that I left out, so we'll cover that. And it's a measurement of production, gross domestic product. Multiple choice. Which of the following statements provides the most accurate comparison of socialism and communism? A. So under socialism, the government owns some business, while under communist government owns all the business. That is the correct answer. A. All right, let's keep going. Number 2, the total value of goods and services produced within a nation in a given year is known as D, gross domestic product. We'll cover it again in class. There's actually one other item we didn't mention, which was consumer price index. Consumer price index. So we're going to see that in the upcoming questions. Let's continue. 3. The three important economic indicators of the United States are the unemployment rate, the price indices, and C, gross domestic product. 4. The 4 basic types of unemployment are frictional, structural, seasonal, and I gave the answer, cyclical. A. So frictional, structural, seasonal, and cyclical. Again, one of the items we left off as we moved into chapter 3. We'll come back to it on Tuesday. Number 5, A, the consumer price index is a statistic used to compute the pace of inflation or deflation. Consumer price index. 6, blank refers to the efforts of the federal government to keep the economy stable by increasing or decreasing taxes and government spending. Answer C, fiscal policy. That's where the government spends and taxes. Fiscal policy involves the increases or decreases in C, government spending and taxes. Fiscal policy. When the federal government's collection of tax revenues is less than what it spends in a given year, it is B, budget deficit. Excuse me, D as in David, budget deficit. So we took in money, but we spent more money. Deficit. Let us continue on. In the United States, blank has the role of managing the money supply and interest rates. B, the Federal Reserve Bank. I'll elaborate on Tuesday concerning these areas. Let's continue on. 10. Efforts by the Federal Reserve Bank to control the money supply and interest rates are known as C, monetary policy. The economic statistic measurement that reports a decline in total output and production of goods and services in the United States is GDP, gross domestic product. 12. An economic statistic measurement focuses that national output might continue to fall in the future If total output and businesses slow down, shows decline for 2 consecutive quarters, 3 months plus 3 months. Economists would classify this as a D, recession. Recession. And so that's in your readings. If you did your chapter readings, you would see that as a gap in the lecture series. 13, your professor showed you an internet video of the chair of the Federal Reserve speaking to the American public. The message he is conveying indicates that Fed economists are worried about inflation and believe the best course of action would be to slow the economy. Which of the following policies is the Fed most likely to pursue? And the answer is, of these, restrict the money supply and increase interest rates. See, that's a coming chapter toward the second half of the semester. And it's a method by which the Federal Reserve controls the money, how much is available to us. So that's an introductory point, coming attraction. 14, in March 2008, a Boston newspaper reported the price of eggs was up 40% and milk was up 26%. Consumers are already being hit with high energy costs, and now this confidence in the economy was further shaken with job cuts and loss of discretionary income due to increases in food prices. The increase in prices is E, none of the above, and that would be inflation. Inflation. And last but not least, 15. Blank refers to the efforts of the federal government to keep the economy stable by increasing or decreasing taxes and or government spending. So this is E, none of the above. Fiscal policy. If you check C, government policy, that's not the right terminology. It's fiscal policy. So it is the government acting, but that's not the language vocabulary that is used. Fiscal policy. All right, there it is. That's chapter 2. If you go through the answer sheet and the answer sheet misquotes the answers that I'm giving, let me know in class on Tuesday, and I'll make a correction video and correct the answer sheet. Otherwise, there's the full example. See you in class. And study, study, study. Midterm is on the way. Most honorable students, chapter 3. This is a longer set. We go out to 43 questions or so. So a lot of information to cover. So without further ado, let's get it on. Let's rumble. Number 1, importing is selling of products into another country. False. Importing is receiving of products. Exporting, number 2, exporting is selling products into another country. Yes, exporting is into another country. Importing is receiving into the country. Okay, so that's perspective. Make sure you got clarity on that question. Moving on. 3, when imports measured in dollars exceed exports, this is called a trade surplus. False, right? Exports minus imports equals surplus, deficits, balance. So exports is smaller, imports are bigger. That's a deficit to the country. More money went out, right, than in. 4, absolute advantage is the basis of most global trade today. False. Comparative advantage is the most advantage of trade. Absolute meaning nobody makes it other than you. There's plenty of competition in the world. 5, comparative advantage theory states that a country should sell to other countries those products that it produces most efficiently and buy from other countries those products it cannot produce as efficiently. True. Coffee is a good example. United States, we're not good at making coffee. We import it. We can, but why not buy it from somebody else and make it cheaper? 6, in order to enjoy the highest standard of living possible, comparative advantage states that all nations purchase imports from countries producing goods and services more efficiently. True. Import products, lower cost. So that's true. 7, the balance of payments measures only the inflows and outflows of money from exports and imports. True. True. That's the dollar measurement. 8, a balance of trade deficit is when imports exceeds exports. True. Exports smaller, imports bigger, you got a deficit, right? So E minus I, or export minus imports, equals. Continuing on. 9. Japanese automakers such as Toyota and Nissan have invested billions of dollars in the United States by buying new factories, warehouses, and offices, which is known as licensing. False. They put in the money. That's foreign direct investment. They bought the factories. We own it. We put our own money into it. Let's continue on. 10. The country of New Satariano mines more fluorite each year than it needs for its own manufacturing purposes. Recently, a neighboring country complained that its manufacturing sites could buy fluorite from New Satariano cheaper than they could buy from its own mines, which is known as importing a product. True, right? They're going to buy it in, we're going to bring it in. Those guys over there make it better efficiently, comparative advantage. 11. Through licensing, a domestic foreign company gives foreign firm/company the right to produce their products and use their trademark, brand name, in exchange for royalties, fees, and payments. True. That's classic licensing. You make it, put our name on it, we're done. Pay me. Licensing is 12. Licensing is considered a high-risk business decision. False. It's not high risk. I don't do anything. You're getting to use my name. You go make it. So it's a real good deal for me if you have a brand name. Nike, Adidas, Starbucks, so on and so on. 13. One advantage of franchising is that the owner does not need to concern himself with costs and risk of starting the operation, equipment, hiring, salaries, etc. That's true. The person buying the rights for the license pays all and takes all the risks. 14. Contract manufacturing is a form of outsourcing. True. I let somebody else make it for me, right? Make it for me and I buy it back. Contract manufacturing, outsource it. 15. A joint venture is a partnership in which two or more companies join to undertake a major project. All parties commit financing and risk to the project. True. Joint financing, in the very word, joint, together. Continue on. 16. The advantage of forming a joint venture is to share the cost and risk of marketing new products and services to several countries. True. That's the reason why you would make a partnership. Hey, I don't have to pay it all. My partner pays half. If we lose money, I only lose half the money. Let's continue on. 7. Foreign wealth funds, a form of direct investment, are investments funds controlled by governments that hold large stakes in foreign companies. True. We didn't get to finish that aspect in class, but here the main idea is the foreign direct investment. That's the key to the answer. All right. And so that's a good practice question, good to show up on the test. All right. 18. The Austin Chance Brewery Company pays a fee to Budweiser Beer for the right to brew and distribute Budweiser in China. The Austin Chance Brewing Company is an example of a license. True, right? True. Budweiser's not making the beer. The Austin Chance Company is doing and using the Budweiser name. That's a license. 19. An example of foreign direct investment would be Pepsi granting a Japanese firm the use of its formula and trademark for a fee. False. That's a license. That's not foreign direct investment. Pepsi didn't put their money into the game. So foreign direct investment, license. 20. Legal regulatory hurdles will not cause significant challenges in global and free markets. False. It will cause challenges, right? From our earlier chapter, that's the economic and legal aspect. If there are high hurdles or a lot of restrictions, it slows down business. So false to that one. And here it is, right? Will not cause. No, it will cause. 21. Socio-cultural differences that affect demands for goods and services include customs, language, and religion for exporting. True. A perfect example of that are food products. Certain countries will not permit food products based on religion, so on and so on. So that is a hurdle. 22. Effective marketing strategies focus on goods, services, and ignore sociocultural differences in the global environment. False. You must pay attention to where your product is going. If it's not something that particular nation does not typically use, you're not going to sell it. That was the example I used in class. Ice cream. Not everybody eats ice cream. All right. Continuing on. 23. Technical and infrastructure quality of life differences will not prevent some companies from exporting. False. technical and structural. Do they have highways? Do they have telephone systems? Do they have shipping docks? Those are all problems to getting into a global market. So it will cause problems. Okay. And again, look at the magic word here, will not. So it's false. It will cause problems. 24, trade protectionism is the use of government regulations to encourage the import of goods and services. False. Trade, look at this, practice trade protection. I'm protecting my local markets. You want to bring in stuff and my nation's companies have products here? Oh, no, no, no. Stop. Trade protection. I'm going to protect my guys. Okay? You can't import here. Let us continue on. 25. Restrictive standards that detail exactly how a product must be sold in a country are examples of protectionist techniques. True, right? You have to have special leather. It must be of this color. It must be of that color. That's a way to protect your products, right? Keep folks out. Let's continue on. Now we're into the multiple choice. 26. Next year, in order to cut both time and cost in getting new eyeglass styles to global markets, Mr. Tucker will send his designs to manufacturers in Saipan, Bangladesh, and Turkey, who will produce the eyeglasses in facilities in their respective countries. Rep plans to, here we go, B, contract manufacturer, because what was left out? Trade name, trademarks. You're making it for me. Make it for me, and then I'll go do something with it. So there's the refined difference right there. So answer B. 27. Mr. Ratcliffe's company was told by Japanese Ministry of Trade they could only export 1.5 million pairs of sneakers to Japan during a given year. The Japanese imposed, this one is an import quota, right? So exporting to Japan, right? But importing into Japan, right? That is the idea. We limit the numbers that can come into our country. So that's an import quota. Be very careful on the distinction there, right? He could sell as many as he wants, but how many are actually going to get into the country? That's an import quota. 28. Ms. Pahua spoke with a Korean company that said it might be interested in producing her products in Korea. They would pay her a royalty fee payment for what they sold and would bear all the startup expenses in this effort. This Korean company is proposing a D, license agreement, right? License agreement. They would pay her, right? They would pay her. 29, which of the following is an advantage of outsourcing? The correct answer here is A. Companies can create efficiencies by hiring low-wage employees, right? I'll use those guys over there that are cheaper than my guys over here exporting, right? So that's an advantage, lower cost. The whole reason why I use another company. Let's continue on. 30. Mr. McCully Inc. is a small country that has followed protectionist policies for many years. Which of the following would be an example of non-tariff barrier established by McCully Inc.? All right, small company. Non-tariff is a specialty taxation, right? So not a tax, right? So the answer is C. Establishment of restrictive quality standards requiring foreign firms to make expensive modification to their products before they could be exported to, and I got a typo here. It's Nevada, but it really should be McCully. So if you answered this one, there's the correction there. My apologies. So you can sell as many as you want in my country, but you got to have it at this super high standard for it to get in. Sell as many you want. Let's see if you can hit this super high standard. So that's a protectionist technique. 31. The U.S. government has announced a 5 billion pound annual limit on beef imported from Argentina. This type of trade restriction is called C, import quota. So Argentina can export as much as it wants, but how many gets into the country is the issue. 32. The blank represents the first attempt to establish a truly global mediation center to resolve international disputes. This is ahead of class. Our class session, the answer is here. World Trade Organization, also known as there we go. No, not taking. WTO is the short version. WTO. Let's continue on. 33. Some governments initiate restrictive standards that detail exactly how a product must be sold in a country. Trade experts call these restrictions import constraint policies. C, import constraint policies, right, coming in. And I paused there because I was looking for non-tariff. But within these series, answering the question, similar to when you would be on a test, and use the answers that are available to you. So in this particular case, C, import constraint policies. Let's continue on. 34. Blank differences such as inefficient electrical power and transportation systems can present special problems for U.S. firms when attempting to enter foreign markets. The answer is here, physical and structural, right? So what? Electrical power grid, transportation systems, right? All the things that make your business move, which we take for granted in the United States. The roads are fine. The telephone systems are fine, so on and so on. So A is the correct answer. Let's continue the journey. 35. McHugh Corporation of Ireland and Enomoto Enterprises, based in Japan, recently produced a new electric car with rechargeable batteries that can be driven at high speeds for long distances. They have shared the investment. Each contributed important technical expertise to the effort. These firms have entered into an A, joint venture to build this car, right? And so here was the key answer, shared, right? So shared automatically points you to joint, right? Shared joint venture. 36. Using contract manufacturing as a strategy to reach global foreign markets offers firms the advantage of B, reduced financial risk, right? A, expert and experienced laborers. Yeah, that's an answer. You get that in contract manufacturing, but the better answer is reduce financial risk. It's about the money. It's about the money. Otherwise, I could use my own labor force that's experts, but let me go over there. Less money. Let's continue on. Licensing is a popular strategy because B, the buyer of the license, the licensee, has an incentive to work harder and succeed because he or she has borne the cost. Now, you might think it was D, the licensee spends little or no money, but that's not the issue here, right? The licensee, right? The licensee is the one that's buying the right to use it. So I, the seller, which would be the licensor, bear no cost. You pay me, licensor. So answer B. Let's continue on. 38, right here, 38. A fast-growing form of foreign direct investment is, and from the previous question, A, sovereign wealth fund, where the country actually invests into the company. So that's actually a form of, for government economic system, socialism, right? Where the government actually owns the business. Let's continue on. 39, right here, slipped in, 39. When foreign firms build production facilities in the United States, they're engaging in B, foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment. They put their own money into the operation. Let's continue on. 40. When a company's strategy is blank, the firm makes arrangements for a foreign manufacturer to produce the product. B, contract manufacturing. You make it for me, I pay you, and then I take the product and do whatever it is I plan to do. Let us continue on. 41. Oh, an example of that right now, Samsung will be making chips for iPhones. Strange arrangement, but contract manufacturing. You make it for me, I pay you, and then I go do with it as I see fit. 41. Last year, the nation of Tigerland imported goods totaling $500 million and exported products totaling $386 million. Tigerland experienced a trade surplus, right? Trade surplus, right? I sold more exports going out than imports coming in. So exports is bigger, imports smaller, trade surplus, trade surplus. Let's continue on. 42. An important principle for firms desiring to export is C. Find a need in the global market, need and slash demand and fill it. C is the best answer. A is possible, and that's why I paused there. To sell countries with high standard of living. That's the idea of can they buy your product. But more important than that is actually C, the demand to fill the need. If they need the product, they're going to buy it, right? So even if you have a lot of money, you may not want that product, right? You may not want a plastic spoon, right? You want silver spoons, so on and so on. Continue on. 43. Many of the children's toy products sold in the United States are imported from Taiwan because Taiwanese can produce these products more efficiently than U.S. companies. This is an example of B, comparative advantage. I can make it, we can make it, but they make it cheaper, so why not buy it cheaper? 45. China has approximately 90% of the world's neodymium, a rare earth metal used in consumer and military electronics and contemporary technology. The fact that it is necessary metal for the production of many products we use today. Everything from smartphones to smart bombs means China can almost name its price. Which of the following describes this situation? A, China has a near absolute advantage. We're the only ones that make it. We have the monopoly. So there it is, folks. Chapter 3, all put into the bank. If you have any questions and if the answer keys don't match up with the answers, the video explanation I'm giving you is the accurate answer. Let me know that there are errors that are not matching up with the recorded answers, and I'll go back and correct them. Otherwise, enjoy the weekend. Keep the pace. We're 3 chapters deep now with 4 on the horizon. Okay, take care. It's on you now.